Hello world, UB here, and today we're going to talk through updates on the Spiral game system written by my friend Joe. He's really cool, super talented, very nerdy, very cool guy, and he's put together this tabletop RPG system. To kind of go over things a little bit, because I made a video about this a while back, but now there's updates to share. So a tabletop RPG system sets out the rules that you can write different games into. I'm writing a ghost hunting game in the Spiral game system, which is really cool. And then you can have missions or games of the games that, or sessions, I should say, of the game that is written in the system. So don't get too wrapped up in that. If it doesn't make sense, that's totally okay, but I want to show you guys how to make a character in the new calculator that Joe has created and put together. And I'm going to sort of publish this in two different ways. The first one is going to be an unedited version just for some of my test players, and then later on I am planning on editing this down into a video that'll actually go on the UB Draws channel. So if you're watching this now, I apologize that it's not super well edited, but I thought it would help a lot to have someone kind of walk you through how to make a character in this new thing. So, without further ado, I'm just going to dive right into it. So, Joe has created this calculator thing. So we're going to go to sgs-web.herokuapp.com. And if you need to pause here to type that into your Google or what have you, feel free. Now's a good time. We're just going to do enter. And you will come to this home page. You're going to want to register, and it's a pretty simple process as far as I understand. And then when you log in, you're going to always put in your email instead of your username, which is something that has tripped up me and has tripped up a few of our other testers. But anytime that you go to log in, make sure you're putting in your email instead of your username, because otherwise it will not let you in. And like, Joe can reset passwords for you, but it's a manual system. So once you're there, I've already logged in on my other page here, and I'm just going to go to my account. My account is much more detailed than yours is going to be, but let me know once you've registered, because I will set up one of these test game files and I will share it with you so that you can edit and put together your own character. With that being said, I've got a couple of friends here who have that situation going, and I've got one here that is just a test. So let's open that. So when you click on your game's name, you'll be brought to the game sort of dashboard, if you will, and this will just give you kind of stats about the doc. So you don't need to worry about the summary tab here. If you go over to edit, you also don't really need to worry about this. This is mostly for GMs and that sort of thing. And it basically gives me the opportunity to make all of the stuff in my Ghost Hunters game available to you. So if you go into stats, this is also something you don't really need to concern yourself with. This is just where all of the back-end stuff is housed for a game. So like the different kinds of stats, the formulas for thresholds and pools, which are basically your health in different capacities. So if you are the kind of person who likes to create a character that is meant to be beefy, and you really want to create like the most metagame character that is just like made to be as powerful as possible, you might want to look at these formulas and see which skills and the like you want to take into your character But if you just want to kind of pick skills that make narrative sense with your backstory for your character, then you don't need to worry about this. Like, don't overwhelm yourself at all. Don't even worry about it. And then there's the list of skills. The only thing to note here is teleportation, corporeality, and mental influence are ghost-only stats. Unless your character is a very veteran ghost hunter, you're not going to have these stats. They're something that's very... I don't want to be elitist, but like they're set aside specifically for ghosts because ghosts don't work the same way that humans do, you know? So if you want your character to have one of these three, talk to me about it, but otherwise don't worry about it. And then you don't need to worry about limitations because your character is not going to have limitations. Limitations are basically just for objects, so things like weapons and what have you. If you do decide that your character needs to have an object, whether it's a weapon or something that makes narrative sense with them, just talk to me. As the GM, I will be the one to stat that out because I need to make sure that whatever your character has is balanced with the rest of the ghost's objects, if that makes sense. Whew. All right. So we are in the ghost hunting dock, and I have loaded everything we could possibly need into this dock as of right now. So it's a really long list, and you don't need to worry about basically any of this. So in order to shorten that list and what you're seeing, you just go over to the tags button up on top here, and then you do hide selected tags, logical and then you can hide equipment/powers because those are just ghost things, and you can hide ghosts. And then you'll have PC or player character over here, and that will just be the tag that is used for your character. So you can close this, and now all you can see is the players and the equipment that the players can use. Cool. All right. So, player 1. Basically, you're gonna just give it the tag, and then you don't have any limits, like I said. Limits or limitations, they're the same thing. They're interchangeable right now. You don't have any because you're not an object. The XP will adjust as you go. It'll auto-calculate, so don't even worry about this until you're done with your character. But the first thing you need to think about is aspects and flaws. So aspects and flaws, from my understanding, come from the Fate Core system, and basically an aspect is a descriptor of your character that informs how they interact with things. So it can be something like I've put together for this like test player. I joined on TaskRabbit, so that means like I didn't know what I was in for, but now I'm ghost hunting. Oh god. A nerdy kind of fellow. So this guy is just kind of casually nerdy. He might know a lot about Star Wars, or who knows, or maybe he's a book kind of nerdy. You gotta kind of think about these things. And then curious about everything. So he's gonna be checking out every little creak and groan that this house makes, and if something seems off, he needs to investigate it, that sort of thing. And then the flaw. You're gonna have one flaw for your character. And the idea behind a flaw is that it's a negative aspect, and you're going to have tokens in this game, 2 of them per session. And you are going to use those tokens in order to do big actions. And if you use both of those tokens, and you're like, oh, but I really want to do a big action later, then you can invoke your flaw and try to get away with it, and that will give you one of those tokens back. So the flaw that this character has is he's afraid of the dark. and that doesn't work out well in a ghost hunting scenario, but it kind of gives him this human element. And so you can role play with it, you can use it to get a token, etc. And I'll kind of leave it there as far as character creation goes, because after you play a game or two, you'll get the hang of the aspects and flaws. And if you have any questions on them, they're a little bit weird, feel free to ask me, or you can Google Fate core system aspects and flaws, and they have a lot of free literature on the subject out there, and they basically work the same way in SGS as they do in Fate core. Whew. So with that being said, all of your primaries are things that I'm going to save until later, and I'll show you why in a little bit. So just go over to your tactical. Every base character or base entity will have 5 line of sight, 5 range, and 4 speed. So you want to just plug those in while you're over here. 5 line of sight, 5 range, and 4 speed. And then that's something I'm kind of testing, so we'll see if that gets changed, but that's what we're going to start with for every player character. And that's what every ghost also starts out with. So your thresholds and pools will auto-calculate as well, but you need to click on each of them to give them a 0 in each spot, like this. And that way the computer knows to auto-calculate each of them. So for this other character, I just kind of clicked on each, and you don't have to worry about any of that. Don't try to change the numbers in there. It will just auto-calculate as we go. And that brings us to our skills. So for skills, a good space to go is voidspiral.gitlab.io/SGS apps. And once you get to that, this is the home page. This is what it looks like. You'll just go over to docs at the top. And the page we'll be using is called Using Skills. So click on that. And this gives you a list of the skills we're going to be using. Except for the special ones, because we don't do magic in the ghost hunting game, at least not commonly. So you'll just don't even look at these, and just choose from the social, espionage, combat, and academic options here. So there's all sorts of different skills that you can choose here, right? You need to choose 10 of these, if I remember right. I think, yeah. That makes sense, yes. You need 10 of these. And you're going to, let's pull up something in my Google Drive here. Player's Guide. So, you're going to be giving these different skills. You need 2 of them to be a +4. So that would give you +4 on any of the rolls for that specific skill, which means that they're going to be super powerful whenever you have to roll that. So whatever you want to be the most powerful aspect of your character, you pick that skill and you give them a +4. And then 3 of them need to be a +3. 3 of them need to be a +2, and 2 of them need to be a +1. So, I can kind of show you on my other document how I did that for the ghosts. So I showed off the spirit the one day. Pay no attention to my crazy long doc here. That is a banshee, djinn, spirit. Alright, so for the spirit, for instance, he has navigation, block, hand-to-hand, stealth, notice, streetwise, empathy, telepathy, mental influence, and corporeality. Those are his 10. And then the things that I wanted him to be the strongest in is he is streetwise. He's super streetwise, which kind of means he is less book smart and more real life smart, if that makes sense. He has really high notice too, so some things might like slip by other people or go over their head, but he's gonna roll for notice and be more likely to see things that other people miss more often. On the other hand, I gave him +1 hand-to-hand, which means he's okay. He fights with his fists, but is he really great at it? No. And I also gave him +1 stealth because, like, he's actually a very sweet ghost. He's Casper, the average ghost, but he doesn't want to sneak around necessarily. So, like, he could, but does he really? Nah. And then the rest of them are kind of in the middle because he's average. So this is kind of the thing you want to do. I would suggest using this player's guide and downloading it. And then there's a link to what we're using over here in that doc. So I will share that with you if you're a test player, and go from there, because this is a great place to just write down all of the pieces that you're trying to put together. And you want to have at least one skill in each category. So at least one academic skill, at least one combat skill, at least one espionage skill, at least one social skill. And I don't know if I said this time, but you don't need special. Those are basically just for the ghosts, and if you're a veteran ghost hunter as a character, then you might have them, but talk to me first before you give yourself any special skills. So that's cool. And you can kind of see as I go through, I gave this player 4 navigation, 1 business, 4 hand-to-hand, so he's really good at fighting with his fists, 3 endurance, and endurance is kind of an important one if you want your character to be a little bit beefier in the health pools, so just keep that in mind. If you want endurance, take it. Don't worry about it too much. Combat sense is kind of like how much do you notice while you're in the fray of fighting, and so that can be really good as far as like a notice kind of skill, or having like muscle memory as you're moving. It can give you a lot of different advantages. As we go through, he has a little stealth. Devices is kind of like how techie are you? Go away, news. So if you're trying to figure out why the camera stopped working, you would have a better chance of figuring that out if you have something in that skill. Streetwise, rapport is basically like, can you talk with the ghost and your fellow players and be likable with them? I have a certain friend that I think that would really pan out for. Empathy, and then like I said, you don't need to worry about the special skills. And then we get to the end here. Actually, tell you what, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So we talked a little bit about the primaries and how we skipped them over. Now that you have your skills, let's see here. So each skill in this list has a different primary that it's associated with. So block is under fitness as a primary, and navigation is under creativity. So we go back here. Fitness and creativity are both primaries. So let's say that your character has a lot of skills in the creativity realm. You'll want to make the creativity primary your number 4 so that it's as potent as it could possibly be. That's where your character is the most talented. And in the primaries, what you're going to be putting in is actually listed up here in the player's guide doc. So up here it says stats 4332211. What this means is one of these needs to be given a 4. 2 of these need to be given a 3. 2 of them need to be given a 2, and 2 of them need to be given a 1. And so you can then kind of type that into these, and it'll go towards your XP value. So if you have any questions about that, obviously reach out. I will be more than happy to help you out. And here's kind of a example with the spirit. So here's his stats. He's very creative, so he has a 4 there. He is very fit, so he has a 3 and 3 perception as well. But he's not as good with the knowledge category, so he has a 1 there, and he's not as good at the willpower category, so he has a 1 there. And the 2s obviously fall in their place. So it doesn't 100% matter where you put each, but that's kind of the strategy as to putting together a character that's as beefy as you can make them. So if you want to just throw numbers at this, go right ahead, as long as it's 1 4, 2 3s, 2 2s, and 2 1s. I do not care. And I will double check your your character before we actually play. So no worries there. Whew. All right, so we got your skills, your primaries, all of that good stuff. Your pools will have basically calculated themselves at this point, but you don't really need to worry about that right now. So the last thing you need to do is give yourself equipment. There's more details about equipment in the Ghost Hunting Journal, and I suggest reading the first chunk of that. I think it's the first 3 or 4 pages, and basically you can go in here and add any of the equipment that you want. There's some equipment that is just your base equipment that you're going to have regardless, and then you're also going to have $150 to spend in the equipment store, which all of the prices are listed in the Ghost Hunting Journal PDF. And so you can add those onto your character as well. So let's say that I go to the ghost hunting equipment store and I buy a ghostwriting book. I can just click on this and it adds it, which is really cool. And so now that's on my character. You'll want to make sure that you have your flashlight. If you buy a backpack, that's a pretty powerful equipment item right now. So I'm not giving you hints, but I'm giving you hints. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you there. If you've played Phasmophobia, you got the idea down. If you haven't, feel free to ask me about it, but really you can't screw this up too much unless you buy like nothing but candles or something crazy. So after that happens, all of your thresholds and pools will have been statted out. The way that these work when we're playing is that we have different thresholds for sanity, for mental health, and for physical health. You have to go through each of these thresholds to get into the health pools. And so if a ghost was trying to attack this character, and this character's stats are like way out of whack at this point, but that's because I added too many equipment items. If the ghost was trying to attack them, they would roll, and if the ghost rolled more than a 9, he would hit one of the sanity pools. And then if he rolled more than a 16, because 9 plus 7 is 16, he would hit another sanity pool. And so this person would be down to 3 sanity pools, and they would be pretty close to possibly getting hunted. With that being said, it works the same way with the physical and the mental. It's just that different powers and equipment will do different types of damage. And the ghost's main objective is basically to lower your sanity as a group so far that it can hunt. And that is when combat starts. Combat is not a thing that is great in this game because you do not want to kill a ghost. You do not want to disperse it in combat at all if you can help it. If you lower a ghost's health enough, it might be better to just back out and let another ghost hunter come in another day, because when you kill a ghost instead of laying it to rest properly, which is the main objective of this game, you basically create a higher malevolent entity that could bring upon like the end of days. So no killing ghosts in combat, but otherwise, you can beat them up, you can try to slow them down. The more of these pools that get ticked off, the more wounded the ghosts will actually act. So, if you want to slow them down, that is a viable option. Get creative with it. But that is how thresholds and pools work. I kind of went on a rant there. So, all of those have auto calculated for you, and then you go back here and your XP will have calculated for you as well. So, in summation, what you need to have is 3 aspects, 1 flaw, a 4, 2 3s, 2 2s, and 2 1s in your primaries. You need to have 5 line of sight, 5 range, and 4 speed. And you need to have a number in each of these boxes from sanity, trauma, all the way down to health. Some number that has auto-calculated for you. And then you go into skills, and you need to have 1 4, I think it was. 2 4s? 2 4s, 3 3s, 3 2s, and 2 1s. As you scroll down this, and you can double check yourself, make sure you have enough of each number in there, and then you just want to go down here and add your equipment, whatever you want to buy from the item shop, plus your base equipment. And as we play, we will adjust that, but this is a great place to put them to begin with, and then that will give you your XP value. The goal really is, with your 3 item slots that you can bring equipment into the house with, that you will be around 300 XP, but the likelihood is, with all of the equipment that you'll have to put onto this character with the base equipment plus what you buy, you'll probably end up more towards 500, 550 XP, and that's okay. But when you're done creating your character, let me know, and I will take a look at it, double check that you have everything you need, and then let you know when it's alright to figure out when we can play the game. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited for the Spiral game system, and I almost forgot, please, up in this this box up here, please save. And also, the website here works better in Mozilla Firefox than it does in Chrome. It tends to crash in Chrome, but if you're just making a player, I think it'll be okay, but just make sure to save often, and when you exit, it should automatically save. Fingers crossed, but make sure you save. Please, please, please. It's very much a work in progress. Alright, all that being said, thank you, and let me know if you have questions. Bye.